I have never in my life received a cold cast figure that isn't damaged. A good majority of them were actually pulverized before I got them. And this is my most expensive cold cast so far, and I'm really nervous about this. Like, the customs alone was almost $200, which I'm embarrassed to admit. And that's not a small amount of money for me, that's a big amount of money.
I'm gonna need a raise.
You're fired.
So let's see how well this one was packaged. Oh, ooh. That's not a lot of protection, but this box was fairly well handled, it seemed. And I didn't hear any sort of rattling when I was moving it around. Thank you very much from Japan. Oh, thank you, hopefully. I felt something moving when I did that, so something is sliding around in there, but it sounded more like a thud. And I think there's 3,000 of these in the world, which is pretty cool. This might be the rarest thing that I have then, I guess. I mean, the box seems to be in near perfect condition, so that's a good sign. Okay, what number am I? That's not a bad number. Could have been better, but that's at least like a clean number. Let's say a prayer before we do this. If this is not broken, it's literally gonna be the first cold cast statue that I've gotten that isn't broken. And this is the one that's most commonly broken. You have no idea the stakes that we're dealing with here. Oh, I opened it backwards. This doesn't look right, but we'll see. Oh, wow. It's really in there. I think it's okay. Usually, when I see pictures of this, I'm like, oh, that's too bad. But looking at this, I'm not seeing anything obviously wrong with it. This is such like a unique piece. And these things here are super thin. And all the cold cast statues are super fragile. So just keep that in mind when you're ordering them. Like, beg your seller to really be careful when packaging it and package it well. Otherwise, you're gonna end up like me. I got like 5 of them at the same time. Someone was selling their collection, but he didn't have the boxes, so he shipped all of them. He put so much effort into packaging it, but he put so much effort into doing it really poorly. So I just felt so bad because I saw all the effort, but he put the heavy bases with metal inside them on top of the figures. I'm like, dude, no. That was like a collector's nightmare, and that put me off collecting for months. Literally, I was like, oh, I'm done. But I'm so happy that this is undamaged. I would have felt so dumb spending all that money for a damaged piece. But I'm gonna take a closer look at this. Like, what is that? Has it been damaged and that's just glue? Because I can't really see a seam where that may have been. So I'm just gonna accept that as part of this thing, because it is a weird statue with a bunch of weird colors all over it. And it's obviously, you know, a diorama with like this resin pour inside of it. And the texture on the top is stickier than the texture on the sides. So they've put like Mod Podge or whatever. But this looks great. You have no idea how relieved I am. I'm gonna find things to complain about, of course, but there seems to be like a crack here, but that's not at all a big deal for me. Like, a big deal for me would be missing one of these, which I'm not. So I'm super happy. And this is a lot smaller than people think. So for a size comparison, here's a Funko Pop. It's tiny. And we also have this piece that seems to have been, oh, this has never been opened. Oh, it has. Oh. I'm easily fooled, guys. And that's also a part of it. And you're supposed to have this thing in there. I was considering keeping this in the box and just being like in the back of my mind while I have it in fine condition, so I don't need to display it. But I'm leaning towards displaying it because I really like looking at it. And this is actually one of my favorite scenes from the original. Cloud and Aerith are taking a bath together, and he's teaching her how to swim on her back. And since she's so afraid of water, Cloud asks her to close her eyes, and she just trusts him, you know? It's such a beautiful moment, and I really hope they keep this mostly the same in Rebirth, and they capture the magic of that swim scene. Don't do anything silly with it. Don't give them swimsuits or something like that just to sell more figures, even though I would buy them. Keep it simple. And, you know, after this scene, I feel like their relationship really blossoms after this, because from this point onward, she really trusts Cloud, and their relationship really grows from this point on. So, all right, let's carefully dust it off a bit and try to find space for it in my collection. Very carefully. I decided to place it in Cloud's part of the collection because if we really think about it, when Aerith is swimming, she's sort of in a different world of her own, you know? So if you think about it, Cloud is the only character in this diorama, so it only makes sense. After I stopped recording and I got to take a closer look at it and hold it in my hand and study it up close, I did start to notice a few things about this. It does have kind of like a yellow residue in places. Also, there's like weird pieces that seem broken, but they're not from anywhere. They haven't broken off, but they kind of stick out and are stuck to this. I also discovered another crack, but the strangest thing of all, this one actually has kind of a urine-y, swampy smell to it, so it definitely smells actually pretty bad.
Kind of stinky.
But only if you get really up close to it. Hopefully it dissipates. But other than that, I'm really happy with it. It really spruces up my collection in terms of the color. Like nothing else from Final Fantasy VII is really this bright blue color. The only thing that sort of gets close to it is Leviathan. Although it has kind of very visible purple details as well that sort of distracts you from the blue in a sense. So technically this is my 36th Cloud figure in my collection. And technically, but not really, my 15th Aerith figure. But when I'm counting this at the end, because I'm aiming for a high number of figures, I'm only going to count it as one, and it's going to be in the Cloud category. I know no one cares about that, but details like that matters more than you know to me. Alright, I collect Final Fantasy VII figures, and I share my opinions related to that. If that sounds like your cup of tea, then don't forget the lard.